Yeah, just to say, in relation to NPHET, I think we're very fortunate that we had NPHET. And I think we should be very grateful to the members of NPHET for the work that they've done in the past 18 months.
Dear God.
Most of the advice that they've given us has been right most of the time. And that's not easy.
Evidence, please. Evidence.
In this kind of work. And we shouldn't forget that many members of NPHET also have to do full-time jobs. Professor of a university.
Gee, Mac, that's terrible. Like, professor of a university, what's that, 150 grand a year, 120 grand?
Running a major laboratory, full-time GPs, they had to do their day jobs as well as be members of NPHET. And I think the entire of our society owes them an enormous...
Look, most doctor surgeries have been pretty much empty, and that is a fact. I've been there myself, completely empty. And I've heard that from many people. So they weren't exactly run off their feet, were they?
Debt of gratitude. And the fact that we didn't always see eye to eye or agree on everything didn't mean that we weren't always on the same.
And most surgeries anyway these days have 3 or 4 doctors at least in them, so there's always someone to fill in.
Side, and we always were. There isn't a date as such to wind down NPHET, so NPHET will remain in place, and there isn't a date for this NPHET to end, but it is intended that it'll revert to a more normal role, perhaps be slimmed down, and perhaps a less prominent, less public-facing role. But the last thing the government would want to do,
praise the Lord for that,
is dissolve the body that has given us such good advice.
Dissolve it with acid, come on.
And such
like people won't have to wear masks in work.
No, that's correct. So the only place there's only 3 places where you'll be legally required to, and that is public transport, retail, and healthcare. And I imagine that'll include airports and train stations and so on. However, what we will be saying to people is that
Statutory Instrument 296 will still apply in those places.
Perhaps it makes sense for you to choose to wear a mask in certain settings. Certainly for me, I think in a crowded setting, I think that'd be a setting where you might decide to wear a mask indoors. Maybe not always, but sometimes. And I know for decades, it's been very much part of Asian.
Just a reminder, the name of that study was Danmarks 19, the Danish study with the 5,000 participants.
Culture. That when you have symptoms or you feel that you might have some symptoms, that you wear a mask. And I know for years we'd often see people in Asian countries wearing masks. And
I hear that not having symptoms is actually a symptom.
It felt a bit strange to us, and now looking back, it actually was quite a sensible thing to do because they were doing it to protect others. And I think that's probably going to become part of our culture. I wouldn't be surprised if seeing people wearing masks in the winter becomes quite a common sight in Ireland and in European cities, because...
Is this guy insane? It's going to become part of our culture. I mean, what kind of special madness is this?
The mask doesn't just protect you from COVID, it can protect you from all those other...
The mask doesn't protect anyone from anything. It's public relations, it's a symbol, it's an announcement to the world. That's what it is, an announcement. Go on.
Respiratory viruses, which are likely to make a comeback this winter, RSV and flu and all.
That's confirmed by the Danmarks 19 study. It's not my opinion.
Those.
Just one of... Sorry?
When do you see them masks wearing at all after 40%?
To masks?
The masks.
Actually, I think we will continue to wear masks personally right through the winter period in certain settings. And I think...
Aren't you a very good boy, Mick? You're going to continue to wear your mask.
We, as the Thomas just said earlier, they can be of great value in other areas. I have a sister-in-law in Singapore who was urging me since January to get the masks out and to start wearing them. And it's ritual there. It's not ritual, it's habitual, sorry.
That's interesting now. He has a sister in Singapore who's been badgering him to get the masks out. I went for a walk there, when was it? Could have been earlier this year. It was in the winter. And I'm out in a kind of a country area here. It's funny now he mentioned that. And I saw this woman coming towards me. 2 women. One had a mask on. And I stopped and I said, excuse me, can I ask you a question? She said, yeah, no worries. I said, why are you wearing a mask in the open air? This is the middle of the country now. And she started going on about that she was in Singapore, funnily enough, and how, what was she saying now? Yeah, she was in Singapore, and she was going about all what was going on there essentially. And I said, yeah, but we're in Ireland now. You're in the middle of the country. Well, I couldn't get an answer off her. I wonder, was that Michal's sister? I mean, how many people would you know in Cork that have just come back from Singapore?
And we can learn a lot from other societies in terms of how we combat respiratory diseases. So I think the mandatory one, we're saying that will remain on after the 22nd of October.
The purpose of a mask, these medical masks, is to primarily, in say a surgery or whatever, is to stop liquids or saliva dropping onto a patient's wound. That's essentially the purpose. If you look at a doctor or a surgeon, when they wear a mask, right, they never touch that mask once. They wrap it around their ears, and then when they're finished, they remove it and it goes straight into the bin. They never once touch it. Once you touch that mask, it's no longer valid as a mask. It has to be disposed of straight away. So, the way you see people, they have masks hanging off their mirrors, or they have it hanging around their neck or whatever. This is not mask wearing in the true sense of the word. To wear a mask correctly, once you put it on, you're technically not supposed to touch it at any point. If you touch it once, it's no longer useful as a mask. It has to be disposed of straight away. So no one, in essence, wears a mask correctly. Nobody. So the idea that it actually makes a difference, even if you look at it from that context, it's complete and utter nonsense. And I'm tired as well of seeing masks all over the ground. It's just, was it 1 billion in the UK a day, is it? I heard. That's what I heard. They go through. Is it 1 billion? I don't know. I think it was high anyway.
Factually, we don't have a date for when that would be removed. Obviously, the behaviour and incidence of the disease will determine that. But
and I hate the way they call it a disease. I mean, since when? I suppose you get technical about it. I mean, yeah, if I had a cold, I don't say I've got a disease. I just say I'm sick or I'm a bit under the weather or whatever. But I hate the way he keeps referring to it as a disease.
I think as individuals, I certainly would think the masks could be a feature in a voluntary way.
Did he just say he was hopeful it would be voluntary?
In the Irish winters of the future. Thank you.
I mean, what kind of in the Irish winters of the future, he hopes it becomes voluntary, and what was Varadkar said earlier about it being a cultural thing, it'll become a cultural thing.
Thank you all very much indeed. Thanks.
Thank you.